We are back on another episode of Slay with me, Lee M. Clark. I am the founder and curator of Slay the USA, where we feature incredible women like Dee Dee DeWine, who is coming to us today from Central Florida area. Specifically, she's in our Slaying Orlando book. She's also the proud owner of DeWine Design and Interiors, a full service luxury interior design firm. They do everything from like the construction, renovation, all the way through to the actual furnishing. So when she says full service, she means full service. She's got a great team, also a wife and a mom, and just an incredible like human spirit. When we met, I was like, she's just got to be in this project. And here she is. So thanks for joining us
Yay.
today. Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really actually very honored, and I have told so many people about this fabulous opportunity and how you found us on through I think through social media, Instagram or something, and how you reached out. And I at first I was like, huh, what is this? And then when I started to scroll through your Instagram and look into everything, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is like nationwide.
Yeah, and we keep growing it, and we got a little chance to catch up right before we started filming, and we were talking about that. Like, it's so cool to see this as a movement now, to see all the women that are included. Dee Dee was saying, I can't wait to see us like all come together at some point. But what's cool about the women the project attracts, like yourself, is one, they're collaborative because it's a collective. So you have to want to be part of a team if you're writing a team book. A. B, they're vulnerable and authentic because you don't get into a project that's not just a magazine glossy thing and write your like kind of life story unless you're an open book, pun intended. So you get these really cool women in these projects because one, they're high vibe, two, they're like collaborative, and three, they're very open and honest and willing to be real and vulnerable. And that's really rare that we get that, especially as entrepreneurs networking. I think a lot of us are in our own bubbles. So thank you
Yeah.
for being a part of it
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
helping to shape the future too. So
Yay.
we're gonna play 10 ways to slay. I'm gonna ask you five questions. You're gonna ask me five questions. We're gonna go back and forth. Yeah, so I have mine ready. So I'm going to start with the design disaster. Tell me a time that you and your team faced a disaster and overcame it.
Okay. So this was early on in my career. I feel I will preface by saying that we learn from these experiences, and literally we learned from this one. So we had a full house renovation, and we were redoing all of the flooring. So we had already selected the tile. This is back in the day when the wood look tile was all the rage. And so we had a very specific tile, and it was coming from Italy. And so we were told by the showroom that we purchased the tile from that it was actually at the warehouse and ready to be delivered. And so we set up the delivery day, and we went ahead and demoed because we knew it was going to be delivered the next day. So the guys went in, completely demoed out all their floor all the way down to the concrete. And then I won't say the name, but they called, the showroom called and said, we've made a mistake. Your tile is still en route from Italy, and it's on a ship and will not be here for 2 more weeks.
Wow.
We had demoed out of their project, their home, and they're living on concrete. And it's adding 2 weeks to our timeline, and they literally are on concrete where they could have been. We could have said we have to delay start, and they would have been fine. They could have carried on. There was children, husband, wife, the whole thing. What a nightmare. They were very cool. I see her all the time. They love their house, but man, we learned absolutely no demolition until all materials are on site. That was a
Yeah,
nightmare. Oh God.
and it happens. Listen, that's part of design, that's part of reconstruction, that's part of any kind of renovation, as you know, there's going to be, they're going to open a wall and a pipe's going to be from 1937.
Yeah,
Like there's always something. The fact that you handle it with grace and have like, the way that you handle it is the way your clients respond. So if you're
right.
still friends and they handled it gracefully,
They
life
did.
life does happen. And we were just talking offline about perfectionism, and
Yeah.
if that's the biggest design challenge is a third party, had a delay, it's not so bad.
Oh, God. I know, but as the designer, we are responsible air quotes, we are
Mhm.
responsible. And so I had to take that. My job as well is to talk my clients off of the ledge. I mean, imagine you're tearing out your house down to the bare bones and then building it back up in a new and beautiful way. But it's up to me to keep the clients sane during this project. The
Yes,
process. So, is it my turn now for your
it
question?
is.
Okay, so I've been wondering, what inspired you to start this whole Slay movement, Slay the USA? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just came really from a lot of years of networking and feeling like I really never got to know anyone. And knowing that, like, online, it's so surface, like, we never really hear the backstory, especially those of us who didn't have social media the whole time coming up. Like, there's a lot of missed chapters online. There's a lot of stuff we don't divulge, especially the vulnerable stuff, especially like the life lessons and the things we overcame, because mostly we don't talk about it till it's already done, right? And so
Right.
I personally was just curious about the women in my town. I'd been networking with them for 10 years. I was going to move back to Chicago. And I was like, why does she have so many kids? Like, is she divorced, single? I know, how do I know her for so many years? I don't know her. That's weird, right? That's weird. But
Right.
it's so true. If you take the people that in business you go out and network with, it's very much transactional. It's very business cards. You know that their firm, you know their boutique, you know whatever, but you don't really know their why. And so this was an opportunity for me to find out behind the scenes, who were these women? Like, what was their real story? And the stories that came from the first book, I was just like, it was so crazy to me. We had a councilwoman share that she was like in like an abusive relationship and was helped across Arkansas state lines by the police, and
Wow.
she was in a mega church, and like all these things that just came from these stories, and you're like, I would have never known. And I think with that, my excitement became, how many other people are going to feel seen, valued, and heard by people sharing their real experiences? So that's what prompted it.
Awesome.
So for you, same question. What prompted you to start your business?
Well, I spent several years in London early in my first marriage and had children and all of that. And honestly, I was really interested then. This is in the 90s. And I was doing little things here and there. And then when we moved back to the States, I started doing things for friends and neighbors and things like that. And honestly, in 2009, when I got divorced, I was like, hey, I actually have a talent here, and I think it's time to start being a legitimate business. So I, did all the things and got started. And I remember my first putting out a couple of examples of things that I was working on my Facebook. And honestly, what a free, amazing vehicle to like market yourself. Kind of again, early days.
Mm-hmm.
I'd only joined Facebook in like 2008 or something like that. So it was still very early for me. And I started getting a job here and a job there and just word of mouth.
That's amazing. And you built such an incredible business from that. But that was really an era that did launch a lot of entrepreneurs, and it was new, and it was the early bird gets the worm to some degree, because it's always that. It's the ones that are willing to take the risk and go out and be out there when something's new, that that's not necessarily easy, and sometimes it's scary. So it's cool that you did that. And also I think that's where people want to get to know you more behind the scenes. So I'm excited that you're sharing your story more broadly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, and then so I know you're doing this Slay the USA full time now, but I would love to hear more about what you did previously. What was your job
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, so ironically, at 23, I started a company, just basically a marketing company in my basement, my parents' basement in Chicago. And I had like 6 clients, and I was doing well. And I let some guy tell me I wasn't enough, and I got scared. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get sued or something. So maybe I should go and learn and get a like big girl job. So I took my $1,000 and my mom's Acura, drove to New York, and started working in advertising. That's what my degree was in. So I worked on Madison Avenue in advertising, and
Ah,
measured Intel logos and called Russia to say they're an eighth of an inch too big and like stuff. And it wasn't as entrepreneurial as I wanted. And so I quickly left that Mad Men advertising career And some guy in Melville, New York was like, ah, you're like a six-figure sales earner. And I was like, I am? Like, I'm like 20 something, like, okay. So he sends me this payroll company, ADP. They pay 1 in 6 people in the country. I went on to work for them for 10 years and then Microsoft and Salesforce, all in various tech roles. As somebody who was an account executive, I learned the business behind business. And I really never loved tech, but I loved my clients. Like I just genuinely, I'm invested in people. I care. If I don't know the answer, I have no ego. I don't mind saying I'll find out. It's never not my job. It's always my job to figure out whose job it is. And
Mm.
things like that are apparently rare. Being genuine, being authentic, being open, negotiating in the client's best interest. Even in my Microsoft days, I used to teach my clients how to negotiate against Microsoft because I knew that they trust me to go for the business every single time if I gave them the advice, right? And so
Wow.
a lot of great stuff built on trust. And lastly, I'll say when they hired me at Microsoft, they're like, "We didn't hire you because you're the smartest one here." And I was like, "Thanks, guys. Are you saying I'm dumb? Is that what you're saying?" And they're like, "No, we just hired you because we think that you have the most relationship ability and emotional EQ that we've ever seen. So we want to bring you on board." So I was among like people who worked for NASA and like did all these brainy type of things. And I'm just here being real. So but yeah, it was time to go for sure. So for
Wow.
you, what do you love most about where you live and where you serve your clients? Like what do you love about the area you're in?
So I live in a small little area of Orlando, East Orlando. So I live in Avalon Park. And honestly, I I love it because it's a small sort of community, but everyone we always say it kind of takes a village where everyone is knows each other. It is very nice. But I will say that it's close proximity to Winter Park. It's close to downtown. I can be in Tampa in 2 hours. I really enjoy I'm part of the Rotary group here as well. And we do the community is definitely does a lot for each other. And that's why I love living here. One day I aspire maybe to have a Winter Park office, but for now, my studio is right here in the heart of Avalon Park, and everything is walking. It's a live work sort of environment here, and I love it here. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
It's
and for
small
point
but
of
cute.
yeah, and for point of reference for national listeners, they're near UCF. So, right, that's where you're getting.
University of Central Florida. Yes, we are about 15 minutes from campus there, so we do have a lot of big college uh, community here as well. But I love it. It's amazing. We're 30 minutes from the beach. So it's great.
I love that. No, it's one of the areas I definitely targeted for the series. That Winter Park, Avalon Park, Lake Nona. Anybody who's not familiar with Orlando, there's life beyond Disney. It's like there's
Yeah.
like whole
Oh my
towns,
gosh.
and
Yeah.
that whole little Main Street areas that you guys have. It's very like Southampton-y, old money. It's cute, very cute.
Yeah,
What
it is
very
cute.
unexpected in what you would think is like theme park central. Like it's not.
Yes,
Sad.
yes, yeah. This is a very small version of what they created in Celebration, that which is the Disney, like the town. There's Avalon Park, Baldwin Park, and Celebration, and they kind of modeled it all together where you can work and live and play all in the same area. So it's very
Love
cute.
that.
Yeah. So what got you started with your master classes? I happened to listen to one of those, and I was about visibility and pitching yourself. And I was blown away. And it is very interactive because you have some of the other people that are part of the sleigh group. And I was really impressed with that. So tell me a little bit about that.
Thanks. Yeah. So I mean, I'm full of useless information, but genuinely, so the whole thing about visibility for me is I always say do it with intention and not for attention. I ran a charity for over a decade. I realized that my corporate job felt a little soulless and I wanted to do something. I was naive enough to think I could change the entire world, and I'm still trying. And I launched Kindly, and it's a nonprofit. But you ever want to know how who supports you? Run a nonprofit and see how many people want to like support that and donate. And I was not the person who wanted to ask my friends or loved ones for donations, but I also wanted to get the word out. And for me, it was like you could donate to me or just do it. Go do the acts of kindness yourself. Like I can do it for you, or you can go do it. That was the platform. So quickly, I figured out how to get media. And that was my big thing, is like, how can I get more viewers that feel compelled to do something? And the way I went about it was just using social tools, like using LinkedIn to build a media network, finding out about HuffPost being an open contributor. I happened to get meet Ariana Huffington, and she offered me a spot, but at the time, HuffPost, anyone could have written for them. So I had all this information, and I was able to, in the name of kindness and trying to get like people to really think about paying for a stranger's layaway or paying a toll, was able to hit the Today Show, the Rachel Ray Show, the HuffPost, Brides Magazine, Perez Hilton one time even. Like, and so all these women with these incredible stories that are out here not like trying to show off, they're trying to really help their end user, right? They're really trying to be of service. I wanted to do the same for you guys, right? Be of service with whatever knowledge I have. And that's why when I screen authors for this project, it's really important. I don't do ego people, like they're not my jam. Anybody who's in it to like, look at me, like that's not my people. Like there's a table for you, it's not over here. But I really wanted to have that ability for these genuine people who are out here making like the little corner of the universe that belongs to them better, like what you do in your client's home every day, give them a platform. So I decided to create that series for all of you to inspire you guys to go out there and share your stories. You don't know who's sitting there just out of a divorce thinking, hey, I really do love design, and maybe I could do something. And they read your story, and it's like that's that moment they needed to remind them that it's possible. So yeah, that's really the backstory. And then for you, best advice you've ever received.
Invest in yourself, invest in your business, take the leap and be and go for it. Because if you sit around and wish and hope and pray, but don't take action, honestly, those hopes and dreams may or may not come about. But man, if you have an opportunity and you can do it, then do it. And that is literally the best advice. And it came from my brother. And I was tried to make a decision about investing in my business in a big way. At the time, it was a large sum that I was looking at, and he told me, do it. You've got the money, do it. And because that money is going to make you money, I promise. And it did. It worked. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I was telling Didi, I tell her story all the time. I won't get into all the specifics, but she invested in a specific design coach for her business, and same type of thing as being a part of this project. It when you lean into someone who has that wisdom, who's walked that walk, who's been successful and can show it,
Mm.
and you invest in yourself, not the person you're investing in yourself to learn from them. Collective intelligence is the coolest thing ever. Like one of the reasons I stayed at Microsoft longer than I probably even should have. I love a hive mind. I love a bunch of people with different millions of tiny moments and lenses looking at a problem together, because they can solve it in so many creative different ways. And especially as a creative, which I feel as a writer I am as well, that collaborative spirit that gets your energy really going. So I think you're one of the best testaments of the whole series, hundreds and hundreds of women I've interviewed on
Wow.
women who really invested in herself and saw it tenfold pay you back. And then after that, she went and got an even more expensive coach
Yes.
because she's,
Yeah.
but that's the point. It's, and I read a quote, and I think it's important that, if they say fools think every opportunity is a scam. And that's true. Um, it doesn't mean that every opportunity is not a scam, because there are scams. But
Right.
operating under the I'm smart enough to do the research to figure out if this is a viable thing for me or not, instead of like when I inboxed you, you could have been like, this is a scam. People do it all the time.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, I had to look because I was like, what is this?
but then you trust yourself because you made good decisions in the past, and you look and you do your research. We all have ChatGPT, AI. If an opportunity, I implore everyone listening, if an opportunity comes your way and you're like, research it. Just research it. And then if it's garbage, check the Better Business Bureau, whatever. We have tools. Just say, is this garbage? And
Yeah.
if it is, it will tell you. But when you do invest in yourself, I think two things happen. One, obviously, you're tapping into information, knowledge that someone else has amassed. But two, you're reminding yourself that like it's a vote for you. Like I did something because I want myself to continue to grow, and especially investing in your business, that always pays dividends. Um,
Yes.
yes, I have another one for you, but I think you have another one for me first.
Okay. I have another one for you, and I
Okay.
am super intrigued about your nonprofit, Kindly, and I would love for you to tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's so cool that you asked. Thank you. So I guess I had an existential crisis at 28. I was living in New York during the famed 2008 recession. I had like a director of marketing job in a big office and like thought who I was, and that was my whole thing. I worked so hard for this job. And sure enough, lost the job. Like the day the real estate market crashed, I didn't know anything till 10 years later. A movie came out about it. And I was like, oh, that was the same day. Weird. Anyway, lost my job and decided to immediately launch a company with my severance. Don't do that, by the way, guys. Don't do that. You should plan a little better. But I tried. And I ultimately lost, I couldn't afford my apartment. I couldn't afford all the things. So I moved back home with my family, which I was fortunate to have that. A lot of people don't. And then yeah, really threw a pity party for myself and then realized like, oh my God, is somebody going to be like, oh my God, she was such a good director of marketing at my funeral? No, probably not. And
Mm.
that was the existential crisis. Like, what am I if I'm not my job? Like, without a title, I had no sense of self. I had no real identity besides like what I did for work. And so I was like fat and tired and underwhelmed and overwhelmed at the same time. And so one Christmas, because I'm like a psycho, I was like, ooh, for the next 30 days, I'm going to do nothing but yoga, juicing, and an act of kindness every day. Now, mind you, this was between Thanksgiving and Christmas, like real psycho stuff. 90 minutes of Bikram yoga. I was 220 pounds also. Did every day. Juicing every single day. Christmas parties, no chewing, nothing, right? And hated the yoga, hated the juicing, loved the acts of kindness. And I think one of the first ones that really got me, I called, and you have this in your community, United Way. I called 411. I think it's 211. 211 is the United Way. 411 we used to be information. So I called 211 and I was like, what do you guys have in terms of like volunteer things? I have to do an act of kindness every day. And they're like, oh, you could deliver meals on Thanksgiving. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I go to this church, I pick up all this food, and they said, if you have anything left over at the end, just give it to whoever, just whatever, if somebody's not home and they don't answer. So I was dropping off in like a housing project unit over in Fort Myers, and I ended up with this giant sheet cake left over that somebody didn't answer the door for. And so I see this parent sitting with their kids at the park, and I was like, is it okay to like offer this to your kids? And they were like, yeah. And so I went in there and the kids were like so excited and like it was just such a like great moment. And I was like, ooh, why doesn't everybody know that this like feels so good? Like it feels so good to give. And I sound like so cheesy to say it, but I mean it. I ended up my kindness journey's been long, but Jamil Zaki is like professor of neuroscience at Stanford University, and he studied like the neuroplasticity behind giving and kindness. And it actually creates dopamine, endorphins, and a lot of the things we pay for when we get a glass of wine or we go on a vacation. Like there's literally, it does make you feel good if you're giving for the right reasons. If you're writing a check because you feel pressured, that's not really giving, that's performing, but you do it. But when you're like, oh, you know what, I'm going to pay for this lady's soup because she's sitting by herself, you really get a high out of that. So I wanted everybody, it became my thing. I wanted everybody to know about it. I could not afford my like new kindness crack habit because I wanted to just do everything for everyone. So I was like, well, I don't have a lot of resources, but I have my talent of art. So why don't I just sell my paintings and fund the acts of kindness that way? And so I did that. So I sold my paintings at a farmer's market every Saturday morning, and whatever little money I made from my like inspirational quote paintings went back to funding acts of kindness. And then, again, have post the platforms and trying to share the word. We ended up reaching millions of people about the message of kindness, and we're able to do acts of kindness in cities nationwide. And the last year that I did it, because I took a break after some personal things happened, and I'm coming back with something new, but it's related to women in business. But the last year I really had a big year. We went to Times Square. We gave strangers money in the city, and we went to FAO of not they had an FAO Schwartz left, or inside of, no, it was a Toys R Us. They had a Toys R Us left inside of the Macy's on 34th Street, Miracle Macy's.
Yeah, yeah.
We went and we paid off all these international strangers layaways, and it wasn't even layaways then. We were paying their things at the register because there was like a toy section. It was the last toys.
Oh,
But anyway, really great. But my whole thing is this, and I'll say this about Kindly, and I'm glad you asked because I really haven't addressed it publicly. When I went through something really personally challenging and I didn't feel like in the way of like, I really want to be everybody's kindness hero right now, and I wanted to go inward, I always made myself a promise. I am a problem, but I made myself a promise, which is don't give unless it's genuine. Don't give because people expect you to give every year. Just because you've done pay away, lay away for 10 years doesn't mean you have to do it for 11 years if you don't want to do it, right?
right.
Because that's performing. That is not generosity. That is me doing something because of what I think people want from me. That's not real. And I'm not going to be fake. I was very public with what I went through. People who follow me on Facebook and things have seen it. And so I didn't want to give again until I felt genuinely aligned with it. And so we do plan to launch a slaying foundation and help small women businesses with grants. That is in the works. So I want to rechannel the kindly energy to something a little bit more specific. But yeah, that's really how the whole thing began.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. And speaking of former selves and things we've done, what is one thing you wish you could have told your younger self?
Oof. Well, I feel like I suffered from perfectionism. I think we chatted about that a little before we started. And I sometimes being a perfectionist also creates a people pleasing um, side thing that happens. So when I'm trying to be perfect, I'm trying to be a certain way to have people like me, or my clients like me, or I'm going over and above when I'm doing a design job. um it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna offer the best quality service, the best experience, and all of the best materials that we're putting in a home. And but it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It loses you money, it makes you crazy. And obviously, people pleasing is exhausting. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I could tell myself, my younger self, that you don't have to please everyone and you don't have to be perfect, man, that would save a lot of anxiety and a lot of time, and honestly money lost on a job, because I keep going back and reselecting and reselecting and reselecting, thinking that I'm going to get to the perfect piece. So
Yes, perfection is a myth, and I agree with you on people pleasing. The thing that shook me out, and I say I'm a recovering people pleaser, but the thing that
yeah,
shook me out of that is when I read that people pleasing was manipulative. And the last thing I would ever want to be is manipulative. Like that's like the ugly word I would never want to be. I try to be as genuine and authentic as possible. But the point was, when you're pleasing others and not being like out loud about your wants, needs, and desires, you're actually like not being real. So you're not giving people access to the real person. And also by going along with what everybody wants all the time, they're saying yes. How do they get to learn anything about you? Like, what do you bring to the table other than like head nods and like, sure, sure, whatever you
of
like
course
to
I
listen
can
to.
do it. Yes,
And I
yes,
was that
yes.
person, whatever you like to listen to, whatever you want to eat. I didn't even know what I liked on my pizza till I was in my 40s. Like, no idea. So yeah, I get that, but that was a real like moment of shift, because when you're a people pleaser and you want to be good and do the right things, you certainly don't want to be manipulative. So
Right.
that it charges you to have to be real with people. And then I also, who I don't know who said it, but clear is kind. I like that. Clear is kind.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
um So I have another one for you. So I know I think there's 9 or 10 cities that are part of the Slay the USA, and I know you have plans for a lot of other cities to be included. Do you ever feel exhausted? Because I know you have to travel to not only cities in our home state of Florida, but you're going all over the place. New York, you're going all over. So do you ever feel exhausted with the travel, or you just feel so tell me all about that.
Yeah, not really, only because I'm one of those like a mile a minute people, but also I've been traveling for work for so long. So in my corporate job, I actually kept an office in New York when my son was little, and I used to go up there like 2 or 3 times a month. My company was headquartered in San Francisco, so I'd fly out there. I had clients all over the place. So flying all over the place has always been a thing. Now I'm more in charge of my schedule, so it's a little easier. And just to make sure every single book is special as I'm ramping up to do this full time, I'm kind of doing a brunch and a launch. But you mentioned Florida. So one of my strategies to prevent burnout thus far has been alternating Florida towns between other cities because one is drivable and one is
Oh,
flyable. And we have so many in Florida, right? We have Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Jacksonville, we have Fort Myers, we have Naples, we have Key West. Like there's just so many landmarks in Florida. So that's been kind of my travel hack has been like one in state and one out. This summer we did two. We did Slaying Sarasota, which is coming out soon, and Slaying Orlando. You guys come out after Slaying Sarasota. And so getting the brunches and stuff, it's all been in state for me this summer. But yeah, I like travel. I mean, I think travel is the only thing you can buy that makes you richer. And now, especially because like my son can come with me, um,
yeah.
it's a little better. So, that wraps up our questions, but because I'm going to ask a bonus question that I didn't prepare you for, what do you hope your clients feel when you're done with a project?
Ooh, that's a good one. So part of what DeWine Designed Interiors, part of our promise to you is to give you an exceptional experience while we are doing your project. So at the end, I want them to be not only blown away with the final, reveal. I want them to feel that we held their hand throughout the entire process, whether we have a design disaster, or things went smoothly. There's always a bump in the road with every, project. There seems to always be, but that's part of the process. I want them to feel like it's better than they expected. They couldn't envision what it ended up being, and it's better than they expected. That is always music to my ears, and obviously happy tears at the end of them crying and realizing, "Oh my gosh, I get to live here." So that is what we strive for on every single job, big or small. We want them to be blown away.
You got those extreme home makeover vibes, like move that bus. I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
remembers that show, but they used to move the bus and like people were like, "Ah, my new life." Well, obviously it's a testament to the work that you do because I know you have a lot of clients that stay with you for life and repeat. And when they're ready to do the kitchen again, they come back. And so I think, in anything, tenure and longevity of the connection is always a telltale sign of how good the relationship is. So obviously you keep on innovating and growing and you have a great team. So anybody who's in the central Orlando area, obviously DeWine Design and Interiors is available to you, but do you also do some coaching or virtual sessions as well?
Yes. So, when I hired a business coach, we actually got along so well, and I really took to her entire program, and I was thrilled after I graduated from the program that she came back and said, "I really feel like you are a natural coach, and I would like you to become a master coach for my program." We do a lot of kitchen and bathroom renovations, and she asked me to come back and specialize in those questions for all of the new people that were entering into her program. I mean, she has so many people that enter in, like 3 or 4 times a year. She does a launch, and now she's asked me to be a part of the launch as well as a previous person, part of the program, so that I can really be a face of someone who's been through the program and is successful because of it.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Dee Dee, for being on the
Hey,
show. This is terrific. You're awesome. And
thank
everybody
you.
follow her on Instagram. Even if you're not local, just definitely follow her. Her design is stellar.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks, Lee.